Inside the Gamecocks, the show, and we sure are glad to welcome back Mike Morgan, Mad Dog Mullinax, myself, JB. Thanks to Brad Crawford. Always thanks to Stephen Garcia and his buddy John Gruden. That's the John Gruden bobblehead, right?
Oh, sure as shit it is. And he's got a little celebratory cold beer waiting for me.
Oh yeah,
Figured somebody be in a good mood this morning.
Oh man,
oh man, it's good to see.
I am tickled pink, folks. I'm sure Shelly is as well.
Yeah, old Shelly. We hadn't seen Shelly around here in a while. I wonder how she's doing. I guess
Oh man,
did you get any sleep?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
not a whole lot.
So Mike and I were talking about at the top of the show. Me, Mike, and Phil. Man, he had some folks yesterday saying, "Oh man, we'll go to sleep and we'll finish counting tomorrow." And everybody's like, "You're gonna count tonight."
No.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you're gonna count tonight.
Absolutely, man. That was. You want to talk about a decisive victory, man? Whew, that was much needed.
I know. What was more of a blowout, that or the Gamecocks over the Aggies?
A little bit of both. I mean, that was what a hell of a weekend, man.
Yeah. Oh. Carolina basketball had to take the floor on Monday night, and really, it was like, man, we just can't have nice things around here.
I'll tell you what, man. I didn't want to do a whole lot of gloating or any of this stuff until I posted something. I had my social media this morning has been out of control. It's lovely. Absolutely lovely. I'm pumped up.
Did you make any cut.com bets on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Did you give them any odds, or was it a 50-50?
Just 50-50 straight up, and a lot of suckers ended up taking it. It was fantastic.
Are these like buddies of yours, or just random listeners, or
random folks? Yep.
So you got into it a little bit, as you've been known to do, and they got fired up, and then you said, "Put your money where your mouth is." I'll
tell you what, not a little bit, a lot of it. We to the point where my wife is like, "Stephen, you got to get off your phone. You got to stop going back and forth to these people. You're not gaining any ground." Yeah, but it's still fun.
Pretty funny little comment here in the Nano Sports chat box. Brent said, "For the sake of unity, can we all agree that Hulk Hogan needs to be the press secretary?"
That would be fantastic.
That'd be something, huh?
Well, you know me, Gene.
Yeah, brother. Well, man, glad to have you. Carolina on Saturday night. They turned up the heat in the second half, ran the Aggies out of the ballpark, Stephen, for a top 10 win. Something.
I mean, apparently I talked to you that night.
Yeah, you called me during the anthem. Oh, you're back.
I thought I were going to do a podcast again. I mean, I don't know. I heard the anthem going.
That's right. Yeah, that triggered him. He was like, "Oh no, it's time to be on."
I called Flint. I said, "Hey, Steven's he's headed your way." He goes, "All right, thanks for the heads up."
Man, I got thankfully I found a lift and made it back to Perry's house, but it's always dangerous, man, when you get the boys linked up again. And I mean, I was the lone white person in that tailgate, and we just got absolutely nasty. I mean, it was a hell of a time. I was like, there's no chance in hell I'm making this game.
Your brothers, man, you got to record with Melvin and DJ and
Farrell. I mean, yeah.
I bet it was neat to be back with those guys again, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a good day when DeMarco's drinking beers at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, we had a good.
Did you say afternoon. Melvin as in Melvin Ingram?
Yep.
Yeah. What's he like? I remember obviously an outstanding player, but I don't remember a whole lot of interviews with him. What is he like?
He's arguably one of the coolest dudes like you'll ever come across. Down to earth. It's kind of hard to explain and tell you some of the stories, while we're on air. But I mean, the guy's incredible. Takes care of his people, takes care of his kids, and just a baller. He's still trying to play. So I think he said he's going to give himself another year and see if he can get on a team. But I mean, the guy looks like he can still knock the socks off of somebody.
Oh, yeah. Well, and him and Swearinger too. I don't know that if
So
you give me my choice, who do you want to get hit by?
I'd much rather get hit by DJ than Melvin.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll take your word for it. You've been hit by both, so you would know better than I would.
I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. Now, DJ comes in like a hornet, but DJ is 185 pounds. That's not going to do a lot to 240-pound Stephen.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe tell that to Andre Ellington, see what he thinks about it. He got I don't know what was hurt worse, his body or his feelings up there in Dead Valley that day.
Yeah, there's a lot of hurt feelings this morning, man. I freaking love it. Oh man, it's freaking glorious.
Yeah. Well, the Aggies' feelings were hurt on Saturday night too, man. They left with their legs or at least the Yale leaders left with their tails tucked between their legs and squealing out of town. It was Carolina obviously got off to a hot start, and A&M's a really good. The thing that we mentioned all week last week about this football team was you're going to have to beat them. Like, they weren't going to beat themselves. They don't do that. A&M's a sound team. They're well coached. They got a bunch of really good football players, and they showed that. They came back and took the lead. Carolina kicked the field goal, tied it up. But then the Gamecocks owned the second half, and they have owned every second half virtually in the last month. And Lenore Sellers, I think, had his best game as a Gamecock. He seemed to play very free for 4 quarters.
No doubt about it, man. I kind of look like Andy Elliott with this tight ass shirt on right now. Jesus.
Now you look all right.
This thing might have to get peeled off here momentarily.
Like
but I mean, I'd say it to as many people that will listen. I think Lenoris is, we talk about it all the time. I think he's the most improved, not only freshman, but quarterback in the SEC. I mean, you see Carson Beck, what 11 picks in the last 5 games or something like that?
Yeah.
Lenoris is taking care of the ball. He finally, I think I heeded some advice to him, man, with the lower the shoulder. I mean, you can't be sliding like that.
Did you take pride in that moment when he ran over that corner the other night?
I might have shed a tear. I might have. It was great to see, man. That's what these guys want to see. And I mean, I can't tell you how proud I am of that kid. And I think he's going to be he'll be on the Mount Rushmore of not only quarterbacks but of Carolina football.
What add on to that a little bit more? Why? I mean, there are a lot of good quarterbacks out there, but you've gotten to know him. What makes him so great?
He's got a head on his shoulders. He's I don't want to say he's the polar opposite of me, but he's got everything kind of figured out, and he knows what he wants, and the kid works his ass off. And I mean, the game is definitely slowed down. I don't know if you guys can see it on the TV, but I mean, I can see it, and it's like the game is slowed down for him. He's making the right reads. He's escaping the pocket. His eyes are downfield. He's not thinking about running. When he does run, it's a problem for the defense, at least. And I like I said, I'm so pumped up to see him progress further.
The thing I would add to that, Stephen, and I've echoed everything you just said, is that, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to the receiving corps. There's some good guys there that are only going to get better. They play hard. But in my opinion, let's say Lenoris is around for 4 years, this will be the least talented receiving corps he plays with, because the recruiting is going to bring in some dudes, and so 100%. Is the portal.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more. People want to play with that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And for Coach Beamer, man. I mean, Coach Beamer's got these guys fired up, and it's so awesome to see and refreshing to see. But yeah, I think you're 100% right.
Because I mean, you had a couple of dudes. You had a couple of new. When we talk about with DeMarco, when you threw up a 50-50 ball to Alshon, it wasn't a 50-50 ball. It was more like 80-20. Obviously, Leggett was that for Spencer Rattler last year. There's been a long lineage of that. I don't think that guy has emerged yet. Now, maybe it does. But
don't forget about Juice Wells.
Well, yeah. We talked about him quite a bit. As I pointed out, talking to some Ole Miss fans, they're not real high on that acquisition right now, because they think, this is a quote from some people very close to the program, he's, quote, allergic to the big moment. But he was good. You're right. I mean, he was very good the year he was healthy and played hard for Carolina, but The grass was clearly not greener for him. But yeah, they're gonna bring in some guys that are just a different level, in my opinion. And then guys like Bennett, who I'm a big believer in, is going to get better, and maybe some other guys emerge. But the talent around Lenoris is only going to get better.
I think you said allergic wrong. You got to say it like Xavier, man. Allergic.
I can't talk in Legette's dialect. I can't do it, man. I love listening to it, but I can't pull it off.
It is so funny. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. And
he's starting to emerge with the Panthers, which is saying something.
He is.
Good thing there's something for people to go watch because they suck.
No, but I think Mike's 100% right. I think guys are going to see what they just did this past weekend and what they've kind of done, recently over the last couple of weeks. And guys are going to come. They're going to want to come play for Carolina and play with Lenoris and get wide open and catch the ball, man. I mean, that's what football is.
Yeah, this recruiting class that they've got put together right now is pretty neat. Speaking of catching the ball, I thought that Coach Loggins put together a great game plan to get Josh Simon into some terrible matchups for A&M. They had, I think it was Sunday, maybe, I don't know if it was Shane, Stephen, but I feel like it was, who mentioned that in scouting, Dowell said, look, this is one of the weaknesses here as far as how they cover the tight ends. I think we can maybe exploit this a little bit. And we did do some film room with Pat yesterday and looked at some of those plays. But he had his best game of his collegiate career, dropped a touchdown pass too, one that hit him right in the chest that he wants back. What do you, when that happens, like when you kind of create those moments, quarterback to tight end, you got 4 games left in the season. How much of that do you think we'll continue to see? Does he kind of emerge as the go-to guy now for Lenoris? Maybe there's some comfort there in throwing him the ball.
Absolutely. You got a Moose that's running down the field, and that's a mismatch for really any defender. And yeah, I think it's a nice little safety blanket. Wesley Saunders and Pat DeMarco were slightly different as far as stature. But I mean, Pat would always find a way to catch the ball and get open. But Wes was always kind of like, all right, man, here's a grenade, go catch it. And Wes would usually come down with it. But yeah, I mean, I think the tight end, when you have a guy like that, it's such a mismatch.
One of the other things that we saw on Saturday night finally was that offensive line open up some running lanes, and Rocket Sanders proved that if he just give me a little bit of room, just give me a little bit, and he'll scoot. And he certainly did that. But hat tip, I mean, Torricelli Simpkins was just named the National Offensive Lineman of the Week, Stephen.
I saw that.
We hadn't had one of those in 10 years around here. That's something.
10 years?
10 years, 2014.
Wow.
I think it was AJ.
Ken?
Yeah, I think so.
It should have been. But yeah, I mean, I think the coaches, I think the players are buying in, and Coach Elliott is, I'd run through this freaking wall for Coach Elliott. I don't even play offensive line, although I probably weigh enough to do that. But I mean, these guys are playing with their hair on fire, and Pat and I talk about it all the time. It is so awesome to see. They're playing with some passion, and they're getting after that ass.
Yeah, I had tip again to Torricelli. I know, but before the season, we had talked to Cedric Williams, who played at Carolina, who was his coach up there at North Carolina Central, and he said, when this kid was transferring in, he called and talked to Coach Beamer and all those guys. They called him to get some background, and he said, if you sign him, he's probably gonna start. I mean, he's not just gonna be sitting around. This kid can play, and there's no doubt about that. Flipping it to the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to continue to mention. I don't think this stat is not enough people are picking this up and running with it. Now I'm gonna keep mentioning it. Phil, this is my stat. You make sure they credit me. I did it. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. In the last 4 games that Carolina's played in, you're talking about 3 of the best offenses in the league here. Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M, who was the best offense in the league versus SEC competition, and then on the road in Oklahoma. Those last 4 games, 22 total points have been given up in the second half by this Gamecock defense, Stephen. They're making some incredible adjustments at halftime, and they're coming out in the second half, and they're just getting after it and forcing these other teams into a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. What, you want me to expand on that, or I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was going to give you some time to comment, but what I was going to get at here was, I think that you're like, we talk about good defenses, right? Oh, they've got a good Stephen, I'm not so sure when I watch this team, when their starters out there, those 11 guys, I'm not so sure that all 11 of them aren't going to be in the NFL. I mean, do you know what that looks like? You played with NFL dudes. They all went to the league. When you look at these guys and you look back on the dudes that you played with, who do you look at and say, I'm talking about Debo, Bam Martin Scott, Demetrius Knight, all the linebackers, everybody up front, clearly. Look at the secondary. Eman Warrior's an All-American. Find a better corner in college football than O'Donnell Fortune right now. They don't even want to throw it to the side. When they throw it over there, he picks it off. I mean, they're incredible.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, and I think that's what's kind of helping Lenoris and the rest of the Gamecock offense. I think going against those guys, and that's what we did. Coach Freer would have ones versus ones, and going against Clowney and Melvin and DJ and Stefan. I mean, that's iron sharpens iron, and that's what we've talked about. We talked about on the podcast recently with DJ and Melvin and Farrell. I mean, that's how you build a culture, and I think Coach Beamer's got he's got some stuff brewing over there.
Yeah. Obviously you knew Coach Lawing and how and I know you're a quarterback, but he was coaching those guys to get after you in practice.
Yeah.
And in the very few spring that you got to participate in. And you, as well as Travian, like is there anything that you could bring to the conversation, similarities in how you see these guys attack and play the game versus how Coach Lawing's guys did back then? Like, do you see that connection that Travian to Brad?
What I can see, just literally through the screen, is these guys are having fun, and at the end of the day, it's a game, and you got to have fun. And I think these guys are having a freaking blast. Coach, Travian has got these guys absolutely roaring on all cylinders, and the guys behind them are obviously playing well as well. And I mean, it is fun to watch these guys play defense. And I hate saying that because I hate defense, but these guys are playing with some major passion.
How do you not love Travian Robertson too, man? What is that doing for Lenoris? That's who he faces 3 or 4 days a week in practice.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like iron sharpens iron, and Lenoris seeing arguably the best defensive front, arguably the best defense in general, day in and day out. I think that it's definitely helping them and slowing the game down for them. There's nothing like, game reps. And I tell everybody that, but when you constantly see a top tier defense in practice, the games are like, we talked about with Ace Sanders a few podcasts ago, when you're going against a elite defense, it gets you right because you have no other option. You either suck or you get better and compete against these guys. And I think Lenoris he's going to be a special player.
He's turned in again. I don't know that there's a young quarterback in this league that has developed better than Lenoris Sellers has. All right, so this weekend they're going to go to Nashville. What's it like to play at Vanderbilt?
Oh, the scenery is beautiful.
Well, I know that. What's it like being in the ball with that atmosphere versus others on the road?
The scenery is beautiful. I'll say that. That's all I got to say.
Generally, when you
outside of that, you might as well be on the road at a D2 school. There you go.
Generally, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I will say this, man, and I know, Saban caught a lot of flack, especially when Bama lost to him, but Vanderbilt's, other than Kentucky, I mean, those are two of the easiest places to play in the SEC. And, we got our hands full. Man, Vanderbilt's not the same Vanderbilt as years past. And I like their quarterback, Diego, fellow Spaniard. So, yeah, I mean, we got our hands full, but I don't see us dropping that one next week or this week.
Well, I'll be honest. I know Mike has said it. Phil and I had this conversation yesterday too. I don't think that South Carolina is a good matchup for Vanderbilt. I think that they're going to struggle against this Gamecock defense. That being said, obviously they beat Alabama up there. They took Texas to the goal line essentially.
Yeah.
But those atmospheres. I mean, I remember, obviously not football with 80,000 people, but I remember playing baseball. It was always way harder to play in front of virtually nobody than it was to play in front of thousands of people yelling at you from the other side. I'd rather have that all day.
I mean, as long as you don't get distracted by the scenery, I think you'll be all right.
Well, just I don't know what to say to that. Just play ball.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to keep your neck going like this and just like, good God, there's so many beautiful women out here.
Gamecock fans, there will be plenty of Gamecock fans up there this weekend. Stephen, I think they're good enough to win every game left on the schedule. And obviously Clemson's at the end of the year. They got thumped this weekend by Louisville. Did you see that game?
I did. And I appreciate you saying their name the correct way. Not Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
Nah, I'm too lazy to get all the pronunciations in there. Can I have how much have you watched of Clemson this year?
Zero.
Not much. Okay. Yeah, I just, not to turn the page, I was just curious to see what you thought about their quarterback. We haven't talked much about him. He's hot, he's cold. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they do have a bunch of guys that are not a bunch, but two guys that I actually used to train as quarterbacks, the Woodass brothers. And I talk to their dad regularly, and I wish well for them, and I hope they do well. But for the most part, I hope Clemson always loses.
Yeah, I know. I think everybody certainly thinks that. I do think that it adds to the rivalry if Carolina can continue to win and Clemson can continue to win. There's a lot of attention. But let's be honest, there isn't or shouldn't be a Gamecock fan out there that wants them to win any game before South Carolina comes walking into the upstate.
Yeah.
So today is the Tailgate Talks today, I believe, is with DJ, right? Isn't that the version y'all are releasing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And is it up yet? I haven't even looked in the app. Is it up yet?
I don't know. I've been celebrating, so I don't know.
Okay. I'll go check. But as a reminder to everybody, either whether it is or isn't at 2:01 p.m. When we get off the air, you can go back and check out Tailgate Talks. This one is with DJ Swearinger. They'll have versions coming out soon with Pharaoh Cooper and with the great Melvin Ingram, all who were in town on Saturday night.
I'll tell you what, Jamie, man, talking with those guys, it was really awesome to kind of like get the backstory on them and kind of like talk about, because obviously I played with them, but I didn't know about their childhood, their upbringing, and anything else. And to hear these guys talk and to understand like why they do what they did, and I mean, it was freaking awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously I've met Melvin, and I've met I guess I've met all of them. I don't know anything about them, but that's what you and Pat do well. Like I remember when we first started talking about doing all this, getting under the skin of these guys and figuring out who they are, even though you know them or you think you know them.
Right.
So obviously, you did that well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to talk to, a guy that you went into the trenches with, that were getting crucified by Black Iron and Coach Fitzgerald, during the summer workouts and winter workouts, and it's a lot easier to kind of let loose a little bit more, and I think bourbon helps too. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely refreshing and awesome to get a chance to meet or talk to these guys a little bit more in depth, other than just football.
I can't wait to listen to it, man. Tried to get over there, was on the way up Saturday morning. Interstate was shut down.
I would imagine.
I-26 sucks. So there's my PSA for the day. All right.
Well, you missed a fun time, obviously. I
know.
Talked to you.
I know. I didn't get there till like 1:30 and had to get over to Michael's condo. But all right. Any parting shots before we get you out of here, man?
You're kicking me out, man. I mean, I'm here for the long haul, man.
You can stay as long as you want. We just got to hit a timeout. You want to stick around, talk some more ball? You want to talk about the playoffs?
Playoffs, sure.
Okay. Nice.
All right, hang tight. We got to hit a timeout. We got to pay the bills. You know about that. So hang tight. Yeah. Steven's going to stick around. Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. If you want to remember, it's November. That means next month is December. The big guy, Santa Claus, that big guy, comes down the chimney anything he forgets, you've got to fill in the gaps. Gamecock Traditions will help you do that. You can order online and have it sent to your doorstep, GamecockTraditions.com. You can always head when you're in Columbia, or if you live in the Midlands, go see them, the Village at Sand Hill, or over in Lexington. They love seeing you. There's always a sale at Gamecock Traditions. Remember, a percentage of sales do benefit athletes at the University of South Carolina. It is basketball season. Baseball season is right around the corner. And, of course, we're still in the middle of what we hope is going to end up being a really, really great football season. So head to Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. We're going to let Stephen stick around. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cards while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Fred.
You bet.
It's 12:35. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barn No Did you see that bumper, Stephen?
That was solid.
Yeah, it's one of my. We did that before last season. It's one of my favorites. Then we had to update it this year with Lenora Sellers. It's neat to go back and see all the different styles of quarterback because we've had a lot of them here in Carolina. Mike, think about the quarterbacks that played under Coach Holtz. You know, you went from Phil and like that style of, you know, what Skip wanted, a quarterback, to Notre Dame, Corey Jenkins, Dondrell Pinkins.
Wanted the next Tony Rice. Never found him, but he wanted it.
Never found him. And then Coach Spurrier comes in and just wanted a bunch of Stephen Garcias. Well,
I don't think so. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, Stephen didn't exactly fit the mold of Spurrier guys in any way, right, Stephen? I mean, because he loved the pocket guys, and then he loved guys, obviously, that were, let's just say, very quiet when it came to certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his entire time recruiting me, you know, he didn't care about the beard or the long hair. And then as soon as I graduated early, I go up there. The first workout, he's like, "All right, you're gonna shave your beard and cut your hair, right?" I was like, "No, I'm not. Not even a little bit am I doing that." And I was wrong.
I remember, hey man, I remember when you did cut your hair, and I was listening, Mike. I might have been listening to you, but it got it was y'all, you and Deuce and Michael Haney were on, and it was reported on the air. That was a story. Do you remember this?
Oh,
Mike?
it was. Oh yeah, no, I remember the story, and I remember Eric Hyman's wife and teaching manners, and I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
this
what are we
time college football? What in the hell are we doing? Do you expand on that? Because you obviously you were in the middle of it, and in a lot of ways you were the focal point of it. Talk about all that external stuff there.
I don't know if I want to.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to.
I don't know if I have nothing positive to say about Hyman and any of that, how that whole thing went down.
No, I don't
how
blame
distracting was all that? You know, like it was just a pain in the ass, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's one term I'd use to describe that entire era.
I just don't know why. Like what was I don't understand why those things were important. I'm not.
At the end of the day, man, I wish I would have just listened and just cut my hair and shaved my beard and just had those guys shut the hell up and just let me play ball. But hindsight's always 20/20.
What's interesting to me about that whole time, because I knew a lot of people in the administration, and for the most part, the smartest thing Eric Hyman did for Gamecock football was just get out of the way, right? Like Steve Spurrier wasn't like knocking on Eric's door and asking permission or looking for any sage advice on how to run a big time college football program, but for whatever reason on that issue, the Hymans got super involved. And we had to report it. I mean, we're the flagship station. I just remember, I'm like, seriously, do we have to talk about this on the show? Like, this is really going on? But you had to do it because it was a story. Everybody was, hell, that story became national news in some outlets.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I had the freaking Lord Farquaad haircut going on for a little bit, and it bothers me to even talk about it. Just,
But the whole team had to learn manners, right? Wasn't there some type of all right, you don't want to go down there. All right, never mind. Let's just forget. Let's pretend it never happened. How about that? I'm just since Jamie brought it up, he's bringing me back in time, and I remember being in the middle of that time and having to talk about it. I'm just like, what are we doing?
right.
SEC school. Who cares what Stephen Garcia looks like? Nobody cares.
A lot of people apparently, and a lot of people care that that Trump's in office now.
Yeah.
Well,
deal with it, suckers.
That was a segue right there.
I was going to say there's a lot more parallels there than people probably realize.
Oh, no doubt.
Hey, did you ever, like, when Connor got to Carolina in 2010? Wait, that was 2010, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that had to be December of 2010? Didn't he enroll in the middle of the year? I think he did.
I think he did. Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Did you feel like? Did you ever feel like you were treated differently than Connor? Like from what? Okay.
Oh, well, differently from Connor? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I mean, even by like Coach Spurrier, not even just Hyman. Like when he got to campus, like could you feel that? Like, who's this kid? I mean, did you like Connor when he got to school?
Not at all. And I've told Connor this. You know, we're friends now, but
I
when
know
he was there, he did the smart thing. He did whatever I did the opposite way. Shaved head and shaved beard and wore, a polo shirt and slacks like Coach Spurrier asked him to do. And that's just not how I'm built.
And he was your competition. I mean, that's always the most awkward thing because there's plenty of room for great wide receivers or defensive linemen or DBs, but only one guy can take the snap from center. And so that's always that awkward. Like you want to be bros and you want to be friends maybe, but you don't want to lose your job to them.
Yeah, no, we were not friends or bros, and that's just how it went. And we talking with Connor, on our podcast when we had him, I think that's, like I mentioned earlier, iron sharpens iron, and he saw what I did well, and wanted to expand on that. He saw what I didn't do well, and did not want to do that, and that obviously he's arguably the GOAT of Carolina football as far as quarterbacks go, and I'm super proud of him, happy for him. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is, man. I talked to him last week actually about something for a little while. Shoot, I remember last year, Phil was at our tailgate in Charlotte. Me and Connor were sitting there talking about Stephen, and I was like, "Did you like Stephen when you got to school?" And he was like, "I didn't have a problem with him."
Yeah,
right. I don't think he liked me though. And I was like, "Oh, that's what I heard."
Yeah. He says that. I don't know if I necessarily believe him. You don't like any of your competition. That's just part of the deal.
I never did. I'm with you. I agree.
I still do not like any of the competition, and I'm pretty vocal about it on Twitter, especially today.
Just on a new mission now.
But I thought that made everybody better, though. Like, I mean,
Yeah, no, it definitely did. When you see the quarterback room competing, you got to get your stuff together and compete as well, because at the end of the day, we all want the same goal. We all want the team to succeed. We all want to, compete for an SEC championship. We want to compete for a national championship, and that's how great things are made, is through competition.
You had to have, like any other Spurrier quarterback, a great deal of confidence, because if you go back, Steve's track record long before he ever came to Columbia was the moments his guy throws a couple of picks, he's bringing in the backup, and sometimes he played two quarterbacks in one game, and sometimes he'd alternate quarterbacks every snap. Like a lot of people, I mean, I was told the Peyton Manning recruiting process. Why did Peyton Manning go to Tennessee of all places? He didn't want to have to deal with that. It wasn't for everybody. Steve's perfectionism was not for every quarterback. You had to have some thick skin, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Hey, did you ever talk, not at Carolina, did you ever talk to any of his Florida quarterbacks before you got to campus?
Yeah, Jesse Palmer and Rex Grossman, believe it or not.
What did they say about playing for him?
Basically the same thing Mike just said. You got to have thick skin. Otherwise, you're playing the wrong position. You're at the wrong school.
Well, that's like the Mike, to your point, like I could not imagine.
Uh-oh.
That's not mine.
Yeah.
I cut out earlier. That's not me.
Imagine. I know, right?
Oh, sorry. Am I there?
You go.
Yeah,
You're back.
Look at
There
that.
he is.
Yeah,
He's back.
We had I don't know what happened out there. I had a little bit of a shake. I couldn't imagine you go in for one play. You go in for he did.
Oh no. All right, now Jamie's got it.
Oh, see, this is what we get here. We've been having too much
earlier.
fun.
Yeah.
Election interference. Election interference at its finest.
Did you hear that question or no?
No, I got cut off.
No,
Give it a third try.
it must be spicy.
He did that. I know, Coach Spurrier. Well, I'm not going to let them get away with that this time. He did that one play with Chris and Blake, and I can't remember what game. I want to say it was like the Arkansas game or something. And then didn't he do that with you and Chris too?
Yeah. It was me and Smelly during the Arkansas. Then it worked well, and then we did it the next week at Florida, and
Did not work.
got absolutely smushed.
Yeah, that didn't work at all.
Yeah, Brandon Spikes picked me up. It was my first play. Did a little zone read, probably gained about 4 or 5 yards. Brandon Spikes bear hugged me, scooped me, put me on the floor, and I can't say on the radio what he said or this podcast what he said, but I was like, all right, man, I'll see you next play. I gotta go on the sideline for a minute.
Who gave you the hardest hit?
I can tell you who it wasn't. It wasn't Will Hill.
No. And I played at 250 pounds, so none of that really hurt, to be honest with you. I'm sitting there trying to think.
Have you got blindsided by a guy, or backside, something like that?
Joe Hayden had a corner blitz from the boundary and lit me up pretty good, and
yeah,
it was like a mosquito.
Yeah,
hey, we got since you're fired up today, we got a guy in our chat box that's telling you please stay away from Lenora Sellers.
Why?
I got news for you, Wayne. He's already pretty close to it.
Yeah, you're in trouble, Wayne.
You're a little behind, pal.
Late for that.
I'll tell you what, man. Polish is just it separates so many people. It's baffling. Like we were just talking about, man. At the end of the day, we all want the same goal. It's baffling that people just are hell bent on hating somebody that much.
It's I don't understand it, but that's where we are.
The good guys came out on top.
Yeah. Speaking of Lenoris, you mentioned it earlier, but I immediately thought about you the other night when he slowed down. It was almost like slow motion over there on the sideline. It was like, all right, I'm going to slide. No, I'm going to step out of bounds. Oh, shoot, I'm at the first down marker. I'm just going to go over the top of this guy or through this guy and do what my team needs me to do. Is there any point where in a game where you would tell a quarterback, don't do that, just get down? Like what's the separator in sliding and taking care of yourself versus being aggressive? Because you were always aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're typically heavier than the linebackers, especially the defensive backs, I mean, that you get your chances of you getting hurt sliding. I feel like me personally are a hell of a lot higher than you running through somebody. So, I really do.
Like a guy getting a shot at you.
Right. You kind of give yourself up. I mean, who knows what these guys lead with their helmets. I mean, they're trying to take you out of the game, So I think you take the punishment to them.
Well, I mean, didn't you get in trouble for that with Coach Spurrier?
Several times.
Yeah,
but
it worked. It worked in the Alabama game.
I have about as hard as head as this guy right here. So
yeah,
got a hard head, that guy, man.
Yeah,
right now. Got a hard head, that guy, man.
That's right.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. I'm working on it. I'm not Galindo or Galliano. Was it Frank
Oh,
Galindo?
Frank
yeah.
Galindo.
Galindo, right?
Caliendo.
Yeah.
Caliendo.
Caliendo.
Caliendo. Yeah, he
he
does it
still
spot
around?
on.
He's got to be around. He's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's still touring. Like you can go see him in concert. Just watch him do he can do any voice. There's
I'll
some
tell you what,
guys that could just do that.
I think it's so funny. You still have the Rushmore with the pheasant on the top of this guy's head.
Yes. Jamie noticed that one day in the middle of the show, like out of the blue, and he just started laughing uncontrollably. He's like, I didn't even notice that at the beginning. Yeah. I figured
Walter.
that guy has got to he's got to get at least one more week of his props. I mean, have you ever seen a head of moss? That's unbelievable. It's got like 5 different hairlines.
That's a perm. He perms it.
And that was his
Lord.
look. That's for those that don't know, that was the Texas fan when they were getting smoked by Georgia. The cameras caught him. And I thought I was the only, it wasn't like it was 20 seconds. It was like 3. But 3 seconds is an eternity in TV like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody started taking a snapshot and putting it on Twitter or X. And then it just became like a running gag. I'm like, that guy, I'm like, that I'm the only one that saw that looks like Conway Twitty.
It does. It does.
Hello, darling.
It's fantastic.
Nice to see
you. He is. Walter. He looks like a Walter.
Looks like a Walter.
He looks like a Walter. Oh, man.
Appreciate you guys making fun of me, man.
There we go. There's
There
old
it is.
Conway. I knew he'd rear his head today. To go back a little bit to Carolina football, this version of Gamecock football, Stephen, and back to the game this past weekend, and then of course moving forward with now that Lenoris, we feel like the game is slowing down, right? Kind of slowing down for him. Feels a little free. What do you think that'll do for play calling moving forward with Coach Loggins?
I mean, hopefully they open it up a little bit more. I feel like they have over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, when you have that confidence in your quarterback to, make the right reads and, the game is slowed down for him, you definitely open it up a little bit more. I mean, I think that's kind of just standard.
Yeah. Like, okay, so Strick mentioned on Friday. So, we have Flint and Strick on Friday here when Michael shows up, but generally Michael doesn't show up. So we just have to pay Strickland. I'm just kidding. We don't pay him anything. But he mentioned on Friday, he thought early in the game they'd go deep. He said, I think they're going to take some shots because they're going to try to loosen them up a little bit and get the running game going. And he was dead on about that. They actually ended up taking 3 or 4 deep, really deep shots in the game. A couple to Nick Harbor, who, quite frankly, I'm not even sure he knew that the ball was in the air. He seems to be lost on some of those, so they got to figure that out. But when you do that as a quarterback, I'm not necessarily asking you about what does it do to the defense. I'm asking you about up here as a quarterback. You come out of the gates, you throw on 60 yards down the field. What happens next? Where are you mentally?
Hey, you just kind of loosen up the cobwebs. I've said it numerous times. I told Coach Spur, I was like, let me throw a Mills down the middle of the field, or let me run the ball and kind of get the cobwebs out. And I think it's necessary, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he seemed so comfortable. Do you remember the play the other night? Rocket kind of slipped out of the backfield towards the A&M sideline, and he hit him for a 30-yard. Sellers stepped up into the pocket and then kind of drifted out of the pocket towards the A&M sideline. Do you remember that play?
Yeah, absolutely.
We haven't. I don't think that was the design of the play. It was just that was his safety valve basically, and there was Rocket Sanders. But I don't think we've seen that in 8 games. And when you start seeing things like that, I feel like your quarterback is actually, as Flynn always says, feeling the pressure, not seeing the pressure. And I just feel like the next 3 or 4 games, we might see a kid that we didn't even know existed at this point.
Well, that's kind of what I've been most impressed with Sellers is, he's making his reads, and, the first couple of games, he's making his reads and taking off and running. Now he's escaping the pocket, keeping his eyes down range and finding his little outlet. And, that's big time play, especially as a young as he is.
Yeah. I don't, Mike, you've seen more of Missouri than I've seen this year. Obviously, everybody's seen a bunch of Vanderbilt because they've beaten one number one ranked team. They almost beat a second one in Texas. You know, I look at Vandy's defense, a little bit I know about Mizzou. Obviously, you got Wofford. Clemson's having issues on the defensive side of the football this year, guys. Like, Vandy's defense, I think, is the best one that's left on the schedule. But overall, when you look at these final 16 quarters here, I mean, you talk about progressing. I mean, he could end up really doing some things here as long as that offensive line stays healthy and holds up. And you go back to just where they were after the Ole Miss game, and everybody thought that everything's dead in the water. Turn in your cards, turn off the lights. I mean, we could end up looking at one of the best freshman quarterback seasons in the history of Gamecock football. That's how highly I think about this kid when I see him, and that's me listening to you talk about him. You know him. You've helped him with things develop. Obviously, Perry and guys like you, and understanding the talent that he has, and then seeing him put it together week to week. And I look at this last week. I don't think there's anybody in this team that has more to gain for his future than Lenore Sellers.
Agreed.
Are you drunk already?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm leaning that way. I'm going to.
I think he's ready to end this segment and crack open a cool one.
Oh, geez, yeah. This one's done. But no, I mean, to what you said, I mean, what do you want me to expand on that? I mean, I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say I told him he could go at 12:30. He said he wanted to stick around, so I let him stick around.
He's trying to take you to the post, Stephen. He's playing the clock game here. Can we get you to 12:57 maybe, right?
That's ballsy. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
My phone is just blowing up right now. Jeez Louise.
About this?
No, about Pat is blowing me up right now.
Oh, does he know that you're on with us?
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, he
tried to get me to do some Google Sheets or Google Doc or some other technology. I'm not doing that. I was like, Pat, that's your department, man. I'm just here to talk ball, dude.
I know which ones you're talking about. He sends the same ones to me.
Exactly. He's like, yeah, you got to make sure you share it with it. It's like, man, I don't know how to do all this.
Yeah. Well. All right, we'll get you out of here with a prediction for the game this weekend against Vanderbilt. What do you think is going to unfold up there?
What's the spread right now?
Carolina, is it still 3.5, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
3.5.
Carolina's a 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I think we beat their ass pretty good, to be honest with you. I think we match up well with them. I think the team's kind of flying high, and I don't see Vanderbilt giving us much trouble. Although they can, I mean, they have to some of the other top tier teams.
They're a grinded out football team. I really respect what they've done, but I'm with you. I say the same thing. Mike said it this week. I just don't like the matchup for Vanderbilt against South Carolina. Usually I'm saying it the other way. I don't know that I like this matchup for the Gamecocks.
I didn't like Oklahoma. I didn't like Oklahoma's chances. That was my strongest play, if you will, of the season, and this would be right there as well. I thought A&M was a winnable game, but I certainly thought it was going to be more challenging than it was. Although I also was going to play some QB. I can't believe they didn't throw him out there at all. But this one, no, I've got the same vibe you do, Stephen. And I'm not one of those like, hey, every game Carolina's going to win by 30. That's, you can get silly analysis like that anywhere. There's some games I generally did not feel good about, and for good reason. But this one, I do.
Yeah.
Carolina wins. They're 6-3, and they're bowling, and we'll see where they go. Steven's probably hoping they end up in the ReliaQuest Bowl, so you can just skip on over and watch them play in Tampa.
That would be ideal.
We will. We'll certainly see what happens, but they got to win first this weekend. Man, it's always. Hey, are you going to be up for the Missouri game? We have our tailgate that day at TLC from 12 to 3.
I may, especially for that golf tournament. Yeah, I'm talking with Pat about it now. I may fly in on Thursday and then leave Friday right afterwards. Memphis has his playoff game, so I don't know.
Okay. Can't miss that.
Hey, no, exactly. I can't.
Yeah, he's having a good year. So
yeah.
Congratulations to your son, Memphis Garcia. He's starting to get on the starting to get on the radar.
He's getting there slowly but surely. He's got a lot to work on, but he's definitely getting there.
Well, if he listens to Dad, he'll get there. How many quarterbacks have you put in college in the last 5 or 6 years? 7 years?
It's probably 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean maybe you know what you're doing?
Somewhat. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, man, appreciate the extended time. Have one for the rest of us.
I will for each one of you guys.
Yeah, all at once. All at once.
Two for me, Steve.
Have two for me, Steve. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
thanks, buddy.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
I appreciate y'all.
You got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Thanks, man.
Stephen
Cheers.
Garcia. By the way, you can go head to head with Stephen on cut.com. Again, he's in such a good mood now. He'll probably just give you whatever odds you want. Yeah, you can just make your own spread. Make it. If you ever wanted to just like get an edge on that guy who's just feeling so giddy about life that he'll go ahead and give you an extra stroke on the golf course, give you an extra few points on a nine. Go to cut.com, promo code Gamecocks, pretty easy to remember, promo code Gamecocks, 10% sign-up bonus, and you can challenge your friends, listeners, family, Stephen Garcia, anything you want to bet on, and go, and you don't have to worry about collecting. They take care of all that for you, and there's not a 10% vig. It's like 3 in terms of a service charge. It's a lot less than 10, simple economics. So go ahead and check it out. That's cut.com.